Welcome to Wildspire. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate conversations with entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto, coach, storyteller, and unmarketer at The Awakened Business, helping coaches and change-making entrepreneurs unleash their inspired message and share it with playful unmarketing. I'll ask curious questions and explore uncharted waters with my guest today. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. My guest today was a beautiful surprise from the universe when she showed up in my life. Her name is Julie Temali, and hopefully she will forgive me for not being able to pronounce her name with the beautiful French enunciation that she has. We met randomly, quite randomly, and I felt called to get to know her better. And I'm really glad that I did. And this conversation is a direct result of following my inner knowing and connecting with someone who, just for whatever reason or no reason at all, sparked my curiosity, and to discover that we have actually lots in common. Let me tell you a little bit about Julie. After living abroad and witnessing the hidden consequences of our current economic system outsourced to foreign countries, Julie Temali went on a quest for purpose, working for 10 years in sustainability and social entrepreneurship in Europe and Africa. She experienced how little we know about how to work together toward a shared objective, and that led her to launch her own company to support organizations in succeeding in their sustainable initiatives. Then COVID hit, putting an end to her venture, and she came to the conclusion that the entire economic paradigm had to change in order to transition towards a sustainable world. Julie embarked on a journey of self-discovery, questioning every part of her life and starting to live it her way, aligned with who she is and what she stands for. She now continues this journey of trying to live her truth by renovating her family's home in an eco-friendly way, homesteading in a modern way, and getting involved in her community by running a non-profit supermarket. She also mentors entrepreneurs to build not only a business, but a lifestyle aligned with who they are and how they want to contribute to the world. Our conversation gets to the heart of what motivates change makers, people who really want to make a difference in the world, and how to do that from a place of peace, from a place of enjoying your life, rather than simply coming from a desperation to make the world different. It's a gorgeous conversation, and I'm happy to introduce you to Julie. Hello, Julie, and welcome to my podcast. It sounds so official when I say it that way.
Right. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, your audience.
I want to share how we met because it just so delighted me. So Julie and I met on a service called FocusMate. And this is kind of like a virtual co-working service where you book a time slot to get shit done, and you get matched up with someone randomly. Sometimes you might have favorites or people you're connected with that you get matched up with. And so Julie was one of those random people who I was matched with. And often in these conversations, you check in very briefly about what you're going to be working on, and you work together, muted on your computer, and then at the end, you check in again to say how you did. And often I don't really talk a lot to people. But for some reason, I saw Julie. And I just wanted to know a little bit about her. I wanted to know a little about you. And so I think you mentioned something about you were working on your website. And I said, oh, what's your website?
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned a little bit about what you do. And I felt the synergy in I can't remember how you described it, but it was something like helping people, mentoring people to create their own business, do things their own way, like really live their own life, that. And I was like, that sounds so lovely. I love it. And at the end, we exchanged names, and I said something like, "Do you want to be my podcast?" Or so. I was very spontaneous,
Oh
and
my
it
God,
wasn't.
yes.
Yeah, and it wasn't until afterward that I looked at your website and I saw that we're both projectors in human design, that you had written about it, that you were doing your own experiments, that your story had so many overlaps with my own, and we had common interests. It's like, it's really amazing that there is something in us that knows. And that something in me said, Julie. And I had no idea why. I mean, you're a lovely person. Don't get me wrong. Like right away, I think you're a lovely person. But this was not a logical thing. And I just love that I could reach out to you and we could have this conversation and see where it takes us, because I don't know what effects this might have, how this might ripple out into the world. And I love that. So I love sharing that to you. Thank you for being here with me in that unknown,
And
in the
thank
mystery.
you so much for trusting your intuition. So strong.
Yeah. It doesn't always hit me quite that powerfully, but when it does, it's undeniable. Sometimes it's like more like a tiny little whisper, but this one was like, Julie, not yelling, but it was quite insistent. It's so fun. So yeah, let's see where I want to start today. We've already started. What is it in your heart? What is your heart saying today, Julie? That's what I want to know.
My heart is, I'm surrounded by really bad news, like my surrounding on their personal level. They are really being hit hard by life. And for me, it came back to, it rippled on me by the importance of creating safe spaces for us, safe spaces in which we can rest, we can live our life regarding our own rules. I was even thinking like about where we live. We're kind of looking for homesteading a bit, inspired by that, and how I can consider my land as my mini country, where there is our culture, our rules, the way we do things, even our own language, because we can invent words with my kids. And that's a safe space. Even when we come to our country, that's our norms, values, and we feel good in it. And I was thinking that also about the outside world, where in your country could be crazy, internationally could be crazy, but there are some pockets with which you resonate in terms of norms, values, whatever. And you can connect with those pockets, and all those safe spaces can become what your life is about. And for me, that's super important right now in order to navigate how the collective energies and news, what's happening, so that I keep focusing on what I want to build, what I desire for myself, and not being pulled toward what I don't want to give energy for support to. Yeah.
Yeah. So just so that I understand a little bit about your vision, because I would love to know this, what does homesteading mean to you? Like you said, you're looking at that homesteading, like having your own little safe little country. What does that mean?
What that means is that it's in opposition with what I've been doing before, meaning working during 10 plus years in sustainability and social entrepreneurship. I've been trying to associate myself and contribute to initiatives that were done by others that had the intention of contributing to better the world, change the world. And my experience taught me that there was always a negative effect to those initiatives that were trying to fit into the current paradigm. And I was just going to one initiative to another, working in environment, in a social field, in economic field, and being always not in accordance with some part of what was being done. And also discovering as soon as I was supporting an initiative that there was a side effect I was not happy with. So little bit by little, this path led me to questioning myself and thinking, okay, I don't agree with it. So my responsibility is to act on it. If I want to be aligned with myself, I personally don't have the luxury of not being aligned with myself, because if I don't do so, I just fall in depression like in 3 to 6 months. So I've got no choice but to follow my intuition and so on. So I little by little started to question everything. And even with some basic needs like water, food, everything, as I was learning more in sustainability, I was not in accordance with how it was done. So next step is doing it myself, taking responsibility for what my life is about. And so it's trying to collect our own water so that we can treat it the way we want to treat it. It's about sewage. Having the sewage we are in accordance with. It's about food. So it's about contributing at my own level to take my responsibility about every field of my life, doing what I can, and for what I can't do, rely on a community, the safe pockets I was talking about, other people that want to do the same thing, and exchanging, learning from each other, so that I can build a world that I believe in, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful thing. I hear empowerment. I hear hope. I hear action and connection also in that too. So
very important part of it.
So where are you right now with your homestead journey? Like, are you collecting? I'm really curious. Like, so are you collecting water, have gardens, or I mean, this is a journey, right? There's a lot you can do, and you start where you are, right? So what does it look like for you right now?
So first point I would like to mention is that I started to do it at the beginning of my career. I was in project management. So I started this way, analytical. You've got to do so and so and so, that first, that second, that third. And it was too much. So now I'm more, and it's more organic. It's like more about what I feel and what is important to me. What's like gut feeling, I've got to address that because it's important to me. So we started about our home, which sounds also logical, but we started by renovating it, because in sustainability, you hear that the better consumption is the one that you don't do, So reducing our needs, but as I love beauty and comfort, for me, it's finding this right balance when you just select the right type of low-tech technology to reach a modern level of comfort with the least amount of effort every day, because as a projector, I'm not on every day 100% action mode. So I started exploring that. So we renovated our home. It was 1 year living inside the home, as there were, oh my God, till up to 8 people every day in my home, with the radio on as I was working on my computer. So it was a labor of love. So we isolated the home. We made it so much beautiful, because now we've got huge windows that take the sun, so that we are heated partly thanks to the the free energy of the sun. We also changed the heating system. And now we're just heated by pieces of wood that are collected just where I'm looking outside of the window. So very local. And also I love it because, every day, one time a day, I just spend 10 minutes, taking some wood and being grateful, for the heating that we benefit from. And I love that it's such a little time. But also that I have to take part in the comfort that I'm benefiting from my house. It's like a very spiritual, but I'm also cultivating a lot of that right now in my life. We also just finished installing a rainwater collector. And that was also really interesting to learn about sewage and so on, because as soon as you're like in an eco-friendly mindset, you are told that you must have some, I don't know how you say it, but dry toilets, you're supposed, yeah. And my conclusion is it's not that, is that I want to rely on water. So it's 100% water with a little shower. So we installed that also to be toilet paper free and so on, because the impact of toilet paper is huge. What have we? And now I'm at this. Also, so that's for a home. So now our level of comfort is amazing because windows are just paintings, for looking at the outside world, because we are surrounded by trees. And and also we are installing some, how do you say that? It's solar panels for heating water. And there was a huge thinking about electricity, and we chose to took also electric panels. Solar panels, because I wanted to rely on our own power and learn what it is to just also live with the seasons regarding energy. So we are in the process of doing that. So that's the first huge part. And like 6 months ago, I launched a nonprofit supermarket. And it's a supermarket where we sell like 80% local products, so that we rely also on all the how do you say that, producers that live around us, like 15 kilometers wide around our supermarket. And we manage it ourselves, meaning that we don't have to make profit. So we don't rely on a business model. We play the supermarket owners collectively. And that's how I want to rely on the people around me for food. And the next step is building an amazing garden that will be also full of beauty, mixing medicinal herbs, fresh produce, also mixed with a flower garden, just for me and my mental health, and also for gifts, to people around me. And that's where I am in the process.
Wow. You have really done a lot to create this for yourself. So I can see that what you're saying, like you're living it first. It's not like you're telling people this is what you should do. It's actually about what you want to do for yourself, what feels right for you. So a lot of times, I've been in circles in the past couple of years of people who would love to do something like what you're talking about. They are dreaming of being self-sufficient, living sustainably. Many of the people I've talked to really like the idea of having a village, an eco-village that they are a part of, with a community where they are autonomous, they have their own energy, they have their own food supply, they are living in harmony with nature, they are consuming less energy, as you pointed out. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I've noticed a couple things. One is that often they're carrying a lot of stress about it. Like, I have to. Because if I don't, we're not going to survive. It looks like that. If I don't do this thing, I'm not going to be okay. My family's not going to be okay. We're not going to have a place. And so they become driven to create something like this. But I don't hear that in your words, Julie. Like, I don't see that on your face. Actually, when you talk about this, you even called it a labor of love. You described it. There were 8 strangers in my house every day, and I was working with the radio on, and it was a labor of love. So I can imagine it wasn't always convenient, but there was something about it that I can feel the aliveness for you, the alignment for you in doing this. So, like, what would you say to someone, or how can you speak to that, the stress and the pressure that people feel to do something like this for themselves or the world?
What you've been talking about and describing, I've been through this phase. Because I had my own company. I was supporting companies in being successful in their own sustainable projects. And I came to a point where it just clicked. My entire experience, working 10 plus years in this field, it just clicked for me, like, this isn't going to work. We're not going to manage collectively to redirect the current economical paradigm towards sustainability. It's not made for that. It's going to crumble at some point. And that led me to experiencing a lot of fear. And it also coincided with a period in my life where a lot of stuff just came to an end, like my entire world, like, so it was, so I've been through a dark period where I was led by fear. I was also lost because I had lost a vision about the world. If I do so, I know that I'm going to contribute to it right. And when that happened, I was at the end of my second pregnancy. And I was really feeling bad about the fact that I was going to give birth to a second child in this world. And I've got strong intuitions. Usually, when I've got a strong intuition about what's going to come next or what is important to me, it takes 5 to 10 years before it becomes, I won't say mainstream, but at least talked about, not taboo anymore. I've been through this dark period, and I've been experiencing what it is to be led by fear. But on the other side, as my life was falling apart, I had to reach for help. And during this personal process of reaching for help, healing, and I discovered that I would say my belief right now is that 100% of what I was experiencing emotionally wise was just a reflection of what was happening inside of me. So if I was experiencing fear because an international situation, or because what was my neighbor doing, or whatever, it's because it was hitting a weak point in me. And it was a part of me that I needed to shed light on to understand it. And once I understand it, because it's visible to me, I have access to what I feel about it. And then I can decide this feels right to me and I can act. So being led by fear, I was just thinking and pushing myself to do things like in a project management way, but I wasn't going very fast. Also, if you want to talk efficiency, and when so little by little, healing and going back to living my way, led by spirituality, by alignment with myself. I've found internal peace, and I just learned that each single time I'm not at ease with the situation coming from the outside world, it teaches me something, and then I can put it to fruition and act on it. And this way, I would talk about a rebirth, because my previous vision of the world just fall apart. And now, little by little, adding little stones, I'm just rebuilding a vision of the world, but one that is specific to me. And another point to address regarding what you said is that as I was working in sustainability and also trying to live personally in an eco-friendly way, I just discovered that there aren't any truths about anything. If you want to buy bulk because you think that it's going to be eco-friendly, well, when you go behind the shop and see what they buy, there are some plastic bags, they're just bigger ones, and they just put them in the bulk bins. And okay, you personally don't use plastic, but the shop is. It's not 100% the case. It was just an example to illustrate the point. So that's why I just had to come to my truth, and build what makes me happy, makes me feel good, and what feels right. No right, no wrong, just the compass, the internal compass of this feels right to me.
So what was it, if you can remember, and if you would be willing to share your experience of moving from that fear? Because I heard you say that you recognized that the external stuff that looked like it was scaring you, that it was really happening inside of you, that fear, and that you needed to turn the spotlight on it to see it. So what did you see when you looked inside?
Oh my God. How can I answer this question? It's so intimate, so let me think how I want to answer this question.
Yeah, you don't have to get personal with it. I'm more interested in what you saw that, unless you want to, like what you saw that made the fear not look so scary.
So in my personal journey, I've been having some really hard experiences of life at some point. And I just realized with this healing journey over the past years that my survival mode was trying to run away from the situation, So that was why I just went to work in sustainability, to change the world and unicorn. And so I was considering those emotions bad, because it was uncomfortable for me. But it was echoing some bad experiences that I had in life. And by turning the spotlight, as you say, some things that can seem dark, to follow with light and darkness, when you put light on it, it's not so scary anymore. It becomes just, okay, I've got this emotion and it's an information. And I also learned, and this part was also over the course of my entire life. If you talk about jealousy, about fear, about being annoyed by something, there are some golden nuggets in those emotions because they are your internal compass with what you, for example, jealousy. For me, it's a positive emotion, it's such a clear signal about what you want deeply. So, oh my God, I'm jealous about that. Oh, I didn't realize it was so important to me. I'm going to act on it. It has nothing to do with the other person you're jealous about. It's just you, and you've got a strong signal. And for example, being really annoyed by something like, oh my God, how those CEOs can do that and that and that. They're destroying the world, or whatever you can hear in sustainability. Like, okay, right. It means that I don't agree at all with it. About which part exactly, so that I can take this information and change my acts in accordance with that. And fear, that's also related to security, basic need. If I'm just fearful about that, what is my basic need that I'm not answering? And you were talking about empowerment, and for me, it's so much. And it's so empowering. You're so right about this word, because if I observe myself right now after what you were saying about how I feel about what I'm talking about. And that's right. I feel so much empowered in comparison to before, because I can act on every single aspect of my life that I don't agree with. I've got the responsibility, I've got the action, and I prefer to live in a world where I've got the responsibility. Okay, could be a burden, but I've got the freedom to act about it. I don't rely on the outside world for my fulfillment. And that's empowering. Yeah.
I love that. I don't rely on the outside world for my fulfillment. There's something that I want to share, and I haven't yet been able to share it very well. So this may come out strange. Is that okay with you, Julie? If I try?
Of course.
I noticed not so long ago that I was having a lot of money-related fear thinking coming up. And it wasn't dominating my time. I wasn't thinking about it all the time, but it was coming back quite often, more than it has in a long time. And I had this sense, you see how I can say it. I was on the beach, and I had this sense of myself feeling so afraid, reaching out, like it's out there. What I need is out there. What I need is how am I going to get it? It was that fear-driven need to do something, right? And I went, is it out there? Something about it didn't feel right. I was like, that's not true. The way it looks to me right now is not true. And it was almost like I felt my awareness expand and myself grow, so that I was no longer this small self trying to reach out for what it needed to survive, but I was this big self, maybe self with a capital S. And this experience of me was just a small part of it. And that everything that I needed, and even everything that I wanted, was already connected to me. In that sense, was already inside of me. That there was really nothing separating me from the thing I was asking for. Now, there's one way that I know that this is true, and that's that anytime I want something, I really want it, probably, because of how I think it's going to make me feel. There's an emotional component, like for example, I want money so that I don't have to worry, perhaps, right? Or I want money so that I can have freedom. There's often that as a motivation, right? But money cannot give me freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't make me feel safe. But safety and freedom is available to me right now. It's like what happens when I'm not caught up in that fearful thinking that I need something I don't have. But it was hard for me to see or even imagine at first that something tangible, like because that's where we get confused, right? Like money looks like money is dollars and cents or bills or euros or whatever currency we're using. It's numbers in a bank account. It's something that I can point to and say this exists. But I've seen myself try to use it for so many things that it can't do, like making me feel safe or making me feel important or making me feel worthy. Can't do those things. It's good for buying stuff. It's good for if I want to have things, if I want to travel, like money is helpful with that. It's not the only way to do those things, right? But it is helpful. So I was like racking my brain thinking about, could money be inside of me? And the way I was thinking about it, I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. But then when I saw that I am bigger than I think I am, that I am the stuff of the universe, that, this is also what I think when we begin to sense this helps us to treat other people and our planet more kindly, because we are not separate from other people. They are a part of us. We are a part of this universal entity, this universal ecosystem. And when I see that, I start to think differently. I start to notice that maybe it does mean something when the choices that I make around me, if I leave litter outside. I mean, this is a very mundane one, right? Like if I just throw trash out and I don't care to carefully or intentionally use things. Or one of the things for me was a little over 2 years ago, I adopted a vegan lifestyle. And a big motivation for me was the environmental impact that over time, by not eating animal products, it makes a difference in energy consumption, my personal energy consumption, and the draw on agriculture. And that was something that I think came from, and I'm not saying this as a judgment for anyone else to do that, by the way. Like what you're saying for you, what you're choosing for you, I heard you come back to that. Like what's right for me? It's not like right and wrong, but what works for me? And that was something that works for me. So I'm going to pause there because I just talked a lot and see if there was anything in that, Julie, that you want to respond to or that sparks something in you.
Yeah, because we've got an added common point, both of us, because I had such a blissful experience myself also. I was listening to an interview of two shamans, and I had like a call to meditate. I've never had that in my life. And so I meditated. It's not something I enjoy particularly doing, so it was really foreign to me. And I had an experience like you talked about. I just felt, I could say, my higher self just coming back inside of me. And I had like a vision of my persona, like Julie, the human being, just stepping away, and letting space for my higher self coming back down on me. And I was like bursting of love and feeling so powerful. My hands were like so hot. And so it was, and I just understood so much in this mini experience. I felt a sense of security because at that time, I was wondering how on earth can I feel safe in my body when other human beings can hurt it, for instance. And I just felt this part of me that can never be hurt, and that also when you turn your life not doing what is right or wrong outside in the society, but when you become of service of your higher self and just do what's right for what you feel is right for your higher self, then life flows. It doesn't mean you're going to have just nice experiences in life. It just means that you're going to experience what you are meant to experience. And most of the time, it will be a bigger gift than what you could have think about yourself if you wanted to just think about the next step and the better one for you. It just allows for some nice gifts from the universe or environment, how you want to call it. So that led me to, I've been experiencing how to navigate life since this experience. It was in January of this year. And regarding what you shared, for me, it's an equilibrium and kind of a discussion between the needs of me, Julie, being a human in this very material world with basic needs to fulfill, and also this awareness about our spiritual side, and that life is bigger than us, bigger than what I can ever understand. And so how I navigate, for instance, the subject of security and money is a conversation between the two. It's a part of faith. Like, my responsibility is to identify my needs, name them, so that I can ask about it. Ask myself, like Julie, to act on it in a material way, and also ask myself, like at the universe level, to answer my needs. So if I feel stressed, for instance, about money, for me, money is part of security for me. It means that if I don't have a little bit of a spare money, I will not feel secure. So I had to understand for myself, okay, how much does it mean for me? If I have this in the bank, will I feel okay with that? So that's the part, how I answer my needs on the material level, human being side. And there is also the faith that in life that my needs are going to be fulfilled. And I've been experiencing that because money was never such a big topic to me. I've always been like faithful that money is going to be all right. And it always came. But in my case, I have to be okay with the fact of not having money on the 31 of the month and being really, really faithful that it's going to come on the 1st. And it always did. So when I feel that I want to spend that much and it doesn't feel rational because in the calculus it doesn't work, I still do it if I feel it's right. But on the other side, I've got some basic needs and I can't be in my flow and like in really at ease with life, following the flow of life and being aware, listening to opportunities that life offers if I don't have my basic needs fulfilled. For instance, in my example, with having a little bit of money aside in the bank. So for me, that's a conversation about between those two dimensions.
I like this, how you describe it as a conversation. And, for people who are listening, they won't be able to see you're making this nice infinity sign as you talk about the conversation between you and the universe, or the spiritual and the material. For me, having that moment shifted something it doesn't look like such a good idea, or it doesn't, not even not a good idea. It's not even useful to worry about money now, because like if I really am connected to everything, how could it be difficult for my needs to be met? It's kind of like if we really are this ecosystem of everything that is connected to everything that we need, there might be a little bit of time that it takes to get to me. You know, it's kind of like our bodies are so well designed that they are designed to heal. But if I injure myself, if I break my arm, there's some period of time for that healing to happen, for the whatever needs to, whatever blood, whatever nourishment, whatever minerals and things have to happen in my bones to repair it, right? Like there's a little bit of time in my experience to my experience of time before my arm is back in working order. And so I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. Because what you said, it's like that knowing that I have that connection to everything I could possibly ask for. In fact, in a way that's kind of strange to say, it's already within me because of that larger me that I am. And having this gift of, you might refer to it as intuition, this knowing that I can ask and go, what do I know to do? Hey, inside, inside of me, what can I do to create this? I would like this in my life. And that something will occur to me. And those two things, I think that is the dance you're describing, right? Like it's this what I know to do and the connection that I have with everything that begins to play, that begins to talk, that begins to dance and bring things into creation, even as simple and also as magical as the two of us having this conversation right here.
I'm sure, tell me if I'm right or not, but I really like to, that's part of why I'm addicted to mentoring entrepreneurs, you know, it's because what you said, like, in a way, if I play the game of life, you know, 100%, money will come. And that's part for me of the layers that you have to take down when you want to enter the path, you know, of, I talk about aligned entrepreneurship, you know, you talk about playing games also, you know, to playful entrepreneurship. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you follow those rules of life in a way, money becomes for me a compass of if you are on the right path or not. Because most of my job when I'm mentoring an entrepreneur is about giving permission in a way to the entrepreneur to believe that if I do my enterprise the way I want to do it, aligned with who I am, my values, and so on, money will come. Then if I give the permission to believe that, it comes. I've been witnessing that time and time again. And for me, it helps to remind it to myself also, you know, like witnessing it in others. It's so cheerful, and it reminds myself that it's a game. And if like a money source is just, you know, dying, it's just an invitation also to question yourself, like, okay, so this was from the past. It's not anymore part of my present. So where is life heading me? And okay, I'm listening to myself. Oh my God, there was this intuition, or oh, this project that is coming back to my thinking. Maybe, oh, okay, let's go and do that. And then you've got the answer. Does it feel right to do this project? Yes, no. No, okay. Oh, maybe I was wrong. It was another project. Oh, this project, it works. And if you got this conversation and if you play this game as you're talking about play, money comes. I've been witnessing. That's my belief right now.
Yeah. I think the part where I will speak for myself, and perhaps other people have found this, is like what you said. I want it on the 31st and it doesn't come on the 31st. It's like, I want to create, like, well, it's not on my timeline. Like, why do I want it now? I want it to show up. But there's a timing for things. One of the things that I've seen is that we can feel it if we notice all the seeds that are being planted, all the things that are happening. But as a seed, it takes time sometimes for things to grow. So there are people sometimes who I talk with who are brand new in business, and they had a very successful corporate career, for example, and they're used to the paycheck, and they get into a business and they discover, like, wow, how come the money's not showing up? In fact, there was a woman I was talking to who's, I think, not even a year in her business. And she's like, I've only made $30,000. And I was like, do you know that you're in like the 99 percentile of brand new businesses making money that is actually, it's not her 6-figure salary that she's holding herself to. It's like, this tells me a lot. This tells me you are 100% playing the game of business. You are trying things. You're in it. You're on the right track. You're sowing the seeds. You're growing. You're already delivering the value and receiving value exchange for it. Like, this is beautiful. You're doing amazing. What's next for you? Stop giving yourself so much shit, because she was like really giving herself a hard time and pushing herself so hard. Like, there is an easier way for you to play this game. Oh, yeah. So sometimes, and we're all in different places, right? Sometimes it's time to actually start doing more of that, planting seeds and taking action. And other times we're doing that, but it doesn't feel good. It's not aligned. It's, something we're creating all this stress in our heads and we don't see it. And that we don't need. We don't need that to tend the garden. I hear that in your story, Julie, that you were driven by fear at first, and then you realized you didn't need that. You didn't have to, like, it didn't mean what you thought it meant. It didn't mean the world was out to get you when you felt afraid. It was a message for you. And for me, fear is a message that says, oh, you're giving a lot of attention to this fearful thinking. Come home. What do you know here? And here inside of me, I know I'm okay. I have that connection. I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to get through it. I have with everything that's ever happened to me in my life. I've gotten through it. It's changed. It's moved. And I have this guidance to follow, this inner compass you're talking about that will tell me. It's the same as in plants that tells a plant to grow toward the sun, this intelligence. We know to grow towards that which nourishes us. And it's right there. It's often quieter than the screaming and yelling inside of our heads, but it's still there. And it's so simple and so hopeful in that way.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking about seeds. It resonated so much with what I've been experiencing in my first company, when led by fear regarding my marketing. I've done things that were not aligned with me at all, like reaching for people with cold emails. It was feeling excruciating to me. And I've been doing this exercise of looking back at my entire entrepreneurial journey and looking at as how I got clients. 100% of the time. 100. It never came from what I put in place marketing-wise. It was just because feeling what felt right to me. I just talked about what I was doing to people I was aligned with, or another person, or a random conversation with friends and so on. And then years after, this seed came to light and I get a phone call, and then I've got this huge contract. I didn't do anything about it. I don't even know how they know about my business. And that's how I got all of my clients, by word of mouth or by random synchronicities. And never ever by excruciating stuff that I've been doing, thinking that I must do that and that marketing wise, because if I don't do anything, I won't have clients, I won't have money, I won't be able to sustain myself. So those seeds, that's so cute. Thank you. Yeah, I was planting seeds because I was just speaking with my gut, to other people that resonated with what I said. And someday it grew into a plant.
Mm. It's funny sometimes in my head, I think sometimes it's funny because of the messages I've heard and the stories I've heard about business to talk about business like it's nature.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this is how, like, our needs are met by being what we are.
Mm-hmm.
By Julie talking about what she's excited about with people who are interested in it. Like, that's it. That's how your needs are met, is that this is how the resonance happens. This is how the dance happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is that you or I do naturally to communicate, to be in the world, it comes from our being, not from a marketing plan.
Mm. And that's also why I was so happy meeting you and discovering your work, is because you invited me to the podcast as Julie, not the owner of whatever, you didn't invite me as a person who has to be in a role and to represent something. You just wanted to connect with me. And yeah, so thank you for that.
Well, it is my great pleasure because yes, that's what I was responding to. Julie as Julie, not some role or some prospect or some expert or whatever that I was going to get something from, like somebody I'd like to get to know and see, hey, what are you about? So yeah, I'm really glad that I did. I'm glad that we did. So I would love to first ask you, if people are interested in what you're up to, this mentorship and these things you've been talking about, where's the best place they can go to find you?
You can go to my website. It's www.julie, Julie, Temali for English-speaking people, temali.com.
Cool. And I will link to that. I will link to it in the description and blog post as well so that it'll be easily clickable. So as we end, Julie, I'd love to know if you could speak a message to the hearts of the people who might be listening to this, what would you want to say to them? What would you want them to know?
At this point in my life, I would love, to convey that turning the spotlight to your inner self gives you the answers, not in the way we think about it, like knowing exactly what I have to do, but at least having this inner compass that makes everything feels really simpler. For instance, last week it was a complex, shitty situation I was in, but in a way, just listening to how I felt about it, it became really simple. I just had to take half an hour with my emotions. I just, I just wrote it down to have a bit of clarity about myself. And it was so clear afterward what I had to do to act on it. It came clear and it didn't have to go through my thinking. It was just a consequence of turning the spotlight to what's happening inside of me, and it makes life so much simpler. And then you can navigate. We're talking about, when it comes to the dark side, you can navigate it so much quicker, so much at ease, with such a confidence that I would love to convey this personal lesson I got from life those last years, because for me, life is much more vibrant, easy, and delightful now that I learned to live this way recently. Yeah, I hope I can convey it through the screen.
I feel your enthusiasm, Julie. I feel that very much. It's delightful. It's very alive. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wildspire email from me filled with inspiring stories, unmarketing experiments, tips for playing your way to impact and income without the hustle and hype, insights from my spiritual business journey, and more, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/Wildspire. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.